My goal with PAIR is to help educators and families have better relationships with each other so they can easily work together and help preschoolers who are struggling. PAIR stands for Parent Educator Action Response. We know that preschool is a time when kiddos are quickly developing. Their brains are still little sponges where they're trying to take in all of this information about the world and make sense of it. Preschool is often the first time children interact with other adults outside of their home and family. It can really be a challenging time for kiddos. So it is really common for kids to have trouble with social, emotional, or behavioral things at this age. Now, if we respond in a supportive way and provide a high quality environment for them, and if we help them develop these skills, then we have a chance to prevent those early difficulties from turning into something more severe later in life. But the reality is, with the way that the early childhood systems are set up, educators often don't have the support and resources they need to be able to help all children with social, emotional, or behavioral challenges. On top of that, it can be tough for educators to connect with the child's family to maintain some form of consistency across home and school. So, unfortunately, when kiddos show signs of behavioral issues at any early age, what we often see are things like preschoolers being expelled or just generally negative experiences with their teachers or other preschoolers. They come home saying things like, "I'm a bad kid," and families feel like they are to blame. And there are marked disparities here. We see this happening more to children and families of color. But it's not just the kiddos who are struggling when this happens. When there are preschoolers with behavioral issues, educators have told me that they wish they could effectively connect with families. They've said there are times they've regretted how they responded to a child's behavior. And some teachers have even described wanting to quit their job because they feel like they're not doing a good enough job. And on the other hand, families can feel unsure about how to interact with their child's school, or they feel uncomfortable or find it stressful to do so. Parents often want to know more about their child or share concerns with their school, but aren't quite able to take that step. But like I said earlier, there's another path. We can help kids who show early signs of behavioral problems become more successful later in life. And I think there's a way we can do this where it also helps the educators and families. And that's exactly what I'm trying to achieve with PAIR. Just in case you haven't seen my other videos, I'm Dr. Zulaf McCurdy, professor and lead early childhood researcher at the Center for Childhood Resilience at Lurie Children's Hospital. So what is PAIR? Well, we know that positive, high-quality relationships between educators and families help kiddos get on a path to developmental success in preschool and beyond. Educators and families know the importance of these relationships. They want to have good relationships. I hear this all the time from teachers. They say, "I want to have good family engagement, but I just don't have the time. I'm already calling families on my own time. I'm already reaching out after hours. I just can't do this all the time because I have my own family too." They don't know how to engage with families, especially when they're concerned about behavior. Educators are kind of lost. Now, a lot of times when we see a problem in early childhood education, our solution is just to offer more teacher training. But that's not a solution. That's just putting more demands on teachers. So, how do we improve the relationships without just doing more training or putting this all on the teachers? I think bringing the families in is key. Because on the flip side, families are aware of these ruptured relationships, but they feel like there's not a lot that they can do to talk to schools about their child's behavior. So, how can we empower families so that they can work with teachers? That's the bridge I'm trying to build with PAIR. I'm hoping we can find a way to create something to improve relationships between educators and families when there are concerns about preschoolers' behavior. And that something is low burden and brief for teachers and families, and low cost for centers to implement. I think investing in these relationships between families and educators will provide better outcomes for not only the families and educators, but also the kiddos. That's what we're working towards with PAIR. Over the past year, I've been listening to and learning from educators and families about how to improve their relationship. I've done this through community partnerships, and I've done this through my research. I focused on learning about the barriers that educators and families face when it comes to their relationship. I also listened to what they specifically said is needed to create more positive relationships. With all of that, I've developed a prototype or a general idea of what this something could look like. And that's where I'm at the time of making this video. It's time to finalize our prototype and then test it out. The next phase of PAIR is to work with early childhood centers in Chicago to finalize the prototype so that it works for them. I want more input to make sure PAIR is responsive to the educators and families' needs. What should be included? What shouldn't be included? How should we test it? And of course, let's make sure this thing works. So if you're an educator or administrator and you are interested in having better relationships with the families of your kiddos, then I would love your input in shaping the PAIR prototype. And if you want, you can be one of the first places to test it. There are different ways to be involved, so we work together to figure out what works for you. Or maybe we can work together in other ways if you aren't sure about PAIR. Please watch my other videos about different ways I can support you. If something in my video today connected with you, whether you're an early childhood educator, administrator, parent, or another researcher or clinician, I invite you to email me and we'll go from there.